Stephen A. Smith, First Take, Big Perk, all together, came on today and gave huge compliments towards Caitlin Clark, huge praise. And not only there, they were on Twitter as well, giving love to Caitlin Clark, and people seem to not like it, man.
Stephen A. Smith completely erupted live on television, and this time, it had nothing to do with the Cowboys getting roasted or LeBron missing from someone's top 5. No, his fury was laser-focused on the WNBA MVP discussion, with Caitlin Clark right at the center of it all. Smith unleashed such a thunderous rant that it felt like the First Take set might blow apart, voice raised, fingers flying, and so much sweat it probably fogged up every camera on ESPN.
Stephen A., she is just different. She's special. Just a different type of electricity, man. Did you hear the roar of the crowd while that shot was in flight? Like, I'm expecting big things from her, especially MVP.
When Stephen A. starts pacing like a storm front and launching arguments like thunderclaps, you know you're not watching a segment, you're witnessing a full-blown performance. And when that theatrical flair got directed at Caitlin Clark, the result was part sports debate, part dramatic showcase. He didn't merely co-sign her MVP chances, he declared them non-negotiable. If you weren't convinced before, Smith practically peer-pressured you into becoming a believer. Think she's got the MVP locked up? Drop a Caitlin for MVP in the comments right now.
Let's remember this. Last year, in her rookie campaign, it was immediately after she had gone to the national championship game in the NCAA tournament, and then less than 2 months later, she's got a WNBA season where she started and played all 40 games, finished as a unanimous Rookie of the Year, all WNBA first team, finished 4th in league MVP vote.
Let's face it, Stephen A. Smith doesn't. Do quiet. The man speaks in eruptions. His takes aren't just opinions, they're sporting earthquakes. But this time, the epicenter wasn't in Los Angeles or New York, it was smack in the heart of Indiana. That's because Caitlin Clark has been working such wizardry on the hardwood that even the most booming voice in sports felt the need to dial it up another level.
Caitlin Clark, she put on a show in her old stomping grounds in Iowa versus Brazil.
The most electrifying sophomore in the WNBA, the queen of deep threes, and a walking nightmare for defenders, has now reached full-blown fixation level for Stephen A. Smith. The moment she started launching from the parking lot like it was routine, you could tell it was only a matter of time before Smith's takes broke the emergency threshold. And spoiler, that time has officially arrived.
I think she's ready. She know it's her second year. She know what type of physicality it's gonna take. Look like she's always in great shape, never afraid of the moment. Again, we're talking about Caitlin Clark here. The spotlight been on her for years. She's not gonna shy away from it. I expect her to be in the MVP conversation.
Running on what had to be equal parts caffeine and pure hype, Stephen A. Smith delivered an on-air outburst that smashed the typical studio volume ceiling. He screamed what many have been thinking quietly. Caitlin Clark isn't just in the MVP conversation. She might already be the top pick. Not in the future, not in theory, right now. She's the kind of athlete who rattles veterans and keeps rival. Executives awake at night, wishing they'd had the foresight to draft her.
Then I'm looking at the regular season, leading all rookies in scoring, field goals made, three-point field goals made, assists, steals, and minutes. She's the real deal. Make no mistake about it.
And this wasn't some filler rant tucked into the final minutes of a slow news day. It was peak Stephen A. Smith, unleashed at full power. You could almost hear producers begging to cut to commercial as he launched into a white-hot take that felt half sermon, half sports-themed love letter. His point was crystal clear. Caitlin Clark hasn't just made a splash, she's rewriting strategies, raining threes from the logo, slicing defenses apart, and doing it all in prime time.
What does she mean to women's sports?
I just think that she's elevating the profile of women's sports in a way that most women should deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate. She's a phenomenal player. She's a phenomenal shooter. I call her the Steph Curry of women's basketball. I've been calling her that since last year.
Let's not act like Stephen A. Smith only just found out about Caitlin Clark. He's been her vocal supporter since her Iowa days, hyping her up like she's got Steph Curry's range, Diana Taurasi's grit, and Sue Bird's vision wrapped in viral gold. But this time, he wasn't dropping hints, he was shouting it from the rooftops. He didn't just back her MVP campaign, he demanded it. As in, why are we pretending this is up for discussion? As in, what more does she need to do to win it? As in, you don't deserve an analyst gig if Caitlyn isn't your MVP pick.
Want to promote the sport. You put that girl up in there, and people were appalled at that notion.
Smith didn't simply add his voice. To the MVP chatter, he stormed in and took over the entire storyline. His fiery segment didn't come across like a regular opinion, it felt like a national sports bulletin. If any MVP voters tuned in, they couldn't miss the message. Stephen A. just hit the megaphone with what Indiana fans have been chanting all year. And let's be real, does MVP even do her justice? Step back and take in the spectacle of Caitlyn Clark's rookie season. This isn't just a great debut, it's something straight out of a basketball fairy tale. She's putting up jaw-dropping stats, slicing through triple teams with ease, and dropping dimes like she's throwing darts at the logo.
What's crazy is you had Monica McNutt, Andrea, Shanae, all on the panel right before the game, and they had a graphic, an interesting graphic that popped up showing that Caitlyn Clark had the best odds to win the MVP this year. And man, I wish I could hear what they were saying.
Data analysts are practically malfunctioning trying to process her numbers, sky-high true shooting, wild assist percentages, and record-setting surges in ticket sales, broadcast ratings, merchandise, and fan energy. She's redefining expectations. And defenders, they're getting torched both physically and mentally after being tossed into the Caitlyn Clark cyclone. She's no ordinary prospect, she's a walking cheat code. While most second-year players are still adjusting, Caitlyn's already burying clutch buckets, autographing gear mid-play, and orchestrating her team like she's wired into the coaching staff.
Start with our 2025 WNBA MVP, and that has to go to the one and only Caitlyn Clark. You can say I'm glazing, you can say I'm hyping her up too much, but I truly think that this second year for Caitlyn Clark is going to be like nothing we have ever seen.
So when Stephen A. finally snapped, the moment couldn't have been more perfectly staged. But the real magic wasn't just in the message, it was in the delivery. He summoned the fire of a revival preacher, the conviction of a man with a mission, and the authority of someone who's witnessed legends rise and fall and knows greatness when it knocks. At one point, it seemed like he might levitate or baptize the crew with holy water. It was chaotic. It was genius. It was Stephen A. completely uncensored.
We got a girl here who's box office in Caitlyn Clark. She is box office. We can lament it all we want to, but the fact of the matter is Caitlyn Clark is box office. And we got to get that out the way. And I'll get into all of that a little bit more in just a second because it's very, very important that we point this out. She fills seats. She brings the cameras. She brings national publicity. It's what
Meanwhile, you can bet the WNBA's old guard, the traditionalists who believe only seasoned vets should lead the league, were squirming in their seats. Nothing ruffles the purists more than the loudest voice in sports declaring a rising star as MVP. Caitlyn Clark isn't waiting her turn, she's taking the spotlight. And Stephen A. just gave her the biggest stamp of approval imaginable. Still betting on someone else? Time for a reality check. Vegas bookies, ESPN staffers, and a packed house in Iowa already figured it out. And you knew it was coming. Stephen A. can't resist seasoning his monologues with Hall of Fame names. Magic, Bird, Jordan the ESPN Holy trio, and once again he raced through them like he was entering cheat codes. Every name rolled out like royalty.
Talking about her. And who's to say they ain't gonna lose again and not win a championship? We're still talking about her. Remember, when Bird and Magic, as phenomenal as they were, the champions that they were, there came a point where despite the greatness of them as individuals and the greatness of their teams collectively with the Hall of Famers they were playing with, we were still talking about Jordan. Before he won the title, Tim, am I lying? Wendy, am I lying? We were talking about him. When's this time? Because we were clamoring for it. And I'm telling you, that's what people, when it comes to women's basketball, are going to be doing with Caitlin Clark.
Here's the wild part: Stephen A. didn't even have to spell this out. Caitlin Clark isn't some heir to a throne. Not Magic, not Bird, not anyone else's shadow. She's not here to match legacy milestones. She's here to redraw the map entirely. Clark isn't fitting into history's mold. She's cracking it with a step-back jumper and walking off like it's business as usual. She's not a carbon copy. She's the original, unmistakable Caitlin Clark, and that says it all.
This girl is a superstar. I've been saying it for years. I keep telling everybody she's the Steph Curry of women's basketball, college or pro. She is a superstar.
As Stephen A. blasted through overused metaphors like he was auditioning for a sports-themed poetry slam, something real cut through the chaos. Clark isn't just a scorer, she's a strategist. She breaks down defenses like a chess master, sees plays develop like she's clairvoyant, and takes over games with surgical precision. Sure, she drops points, but more than that, she pulls attention, like a magnetic force. And naturally, Stephen A. couldn't help but reach for wild comparisons. 1 minute she's Steph with sniper vision, the next she's starring in a basketball thriller. But honestly, he's not wrong. Watching her fly down the court is like hitting slow-mo in an action film. Blink, and she's scoring. Blink again, and it's already viral with 100,000 likes and counting.
And to speak to her, to be around her, she's got charisma, she's got style, she's got bravado, she's got class, she's smart as hell. Communicates her thoughts very, very well. She is so incredibly marketable.
Of course, MVP arguments go beyond fancy footwork, we know that. There's leadership, consistency, and win totals to consider. But here's the twist: Caitlin's already done that homework, then underlined it, then left a note saying, "Also, I rebranded the league while doing it." The Indiana Fever, once stuck at the bottom, now look like they're aiming for the playoffs. Coaches are drawing up game plans around a rookie. National TV schedules have shifted just to feature her. And those once empty arenas? They're packed to the rafters with standing room only vibes every time she walks in.
Coming into the NBA and the WNBA, you could just feel, I don't want to use the word resentment at all, because it's not fair to women basketball players out there who may have critiqued her. But what I'm saying is that when you're talking about her greatness, it is perfectly okay for those who have been great to say, okay, let's see what you...
Ticket demand? That's putting it mildly. This is more like a ticket stampede. Not since Lisa Leslie made headlines for dunking has there been this much buzz. Only now it's faster, louder, and streamed worldwide. Fans are skipping obligations just to sit courtside. Security? It's full reinforcement mode. And Clark? She's out there casually drilling 30-footers like it's morning practice. Of course, the critics have crawled out too, waving dusty resumes and grumbling about her being too green or still unproven. They hide behind old-school lines like, she has to earn it, ignoring the fact that Caitlin's already the most talked-about name in sports, period.
Love this one. I really do. I love this young lady. I had the pleasure of doing an event with her, during Iowa's homecoming, because my man Mark Shapiro for WME took me down there, and we were panelists. 10,000 people showed up. It was absolutely phenomenal. This girl is the best in the world.
Here's the reality: MVP doesn't care how old you are. It's about impact. And Caitlin Clark isn't just playing games, she's altering the landscape. She's the storm system coaches pray won't hit, the matchup nightmare that keeps them up late. Right now, MVP might as well mean most vicious problem, and Clark fits the title perfectly. Every scouting report starts with her name in bold. Defensive playbooks are shredded by Wednesday. Schemes get rewritten overnight. And despite all of it, she still drops nearly 30 and jogs off like it's routine.
Clark is coming. Some people think she's already arrived. I don't. I think she's going to be even better. And I think that what she has done for women's basketball, especially in this country, has been phenomenal. There is no woman, no matter how great you were as a...
Stephen A. didn't just go off, he exploded. You'd think Clark had stolen his parking spot the way he went nuclear. But beneath all the fire and noise was something rare, genuine admiration. That level of respect? Stephen A. saves it for the true greats Jordan, Brady, the untouchables. What's changed is this. Caitlin Clark isn't just rewriting stat sheets, she's rewriting the atmosphere. Every stop on her tour feels like a title game. Pre-game now includes film crews, not just warm-ups. Some defenders are literally switching assignments to dodge the next viral highlight. And ESPN might as well name a network after her because it's starting to feel like Caitlin Clark coverage around the clock.
Because when she came into the WNBA, for 22 plus years, they had been flying commercial. They were begging for chartered flights. She arrives there, and 2 weeks later, they got chartered flights. She automatically and instantaneously improved the conditions. Attendance is still lagging. WNBA is still losing money compared to what you would hope it would earn, but clearly things are on an upward.
When Caitlin Clark joined the WNBA, the players were still flying commercial, having spent years requesting chartered travel without any success. Then Clark arrived, and suddenly, within 2 weeks, those flights were approved. Just like that, expectations began to evolve. Yes, attendance still has room to grow, and the league's revenue isn't where most people want it. But with Clark's presence, the shift is undeniable. Momentum is here, and the direction has finally changed for the better.
It's improving, and she has everything to do with it. Attendance for Indiana Fever games? Are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings. She's directly responsible.
She scores like it's second nature. She dimes like she's teaching. A course in vision. Headlines don't chase her, she generates them, while barely breaking a sweat. Clark's racking up double-doubles as defenders try to figure out what just happened. Sure, the MVP field is stacked. Aja Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Nafisa Collier are all legit contenders, but Clark's output goes beyond elite. It's the sort of rookie debut that makes people reconsider what they thought was possible in a first season.
I think Clark being in the MVP conversation is kind of the baseline at this point. You know, she's already been that good as a rookie, and I imagine she's going to take another step forward. I mean, we talked about how that Olympic break was so good for her to get some rest and come in with her legs underneath her. Now she has an actual off season, you know, that she got to take off where, you know, she didn't play in Unrivaled, she didn't play overseas. So this is a lot of time for Caitlin to just get her body right and come in the best shape possible for this upcoming season. And I think that's going to pay huge dividends for her. Like there's no like ramping up period this time around for Caitlin Clark. She's going to come in on game one and be already one of the top 5 players in the WNBA. So I mean, I think MVP has to be like the ceiling for her, right? Like she's already in that conversation. So for her to, you know, get even higher in the vote total, potentially winning that award either this year or next is what I would expect.
Yes, Stephen A. sounded like he was conducting a spiritual ceremony with every sentence. But strip away the showmanship, and the message is loud and clear. Caitlin Clark isn't media fluff. She's a force. She delivers results, commands attention, and reshapes the conversation. If you're still holding on to other MVP picks, maybe you haven't really been watching. Because as Clark keeps breaking physics with that relaxed smile on her face, just recall Stephen A.'s words, "This isn't normal, this isn't routine, this is extraordinary, and it deserves front row attention."
Own the moment. We're not here to chase greatness, we're here to claim it. Our ambitions don't fit into headlines or highlight reels. So if you thought we arrived,
2 more for Boston.
Now you know. We're not here for the moment. We're here for the takeover.
If being MVP is truly about influence, execution, leadership, and redefining the game, then Caitlin Clark already fits the bill. With every long-range 3 that falls like a casual flick, her case only gets stronger. Keep clinging to those "she's too new" arguments if you want, but don't act surprised when she lights up your team for 40, ends your playoff hopes, and still makes time for fans afterward. Because if Stephen A.Smith, the most explosive voice in sports, is saying she might be MVP, it's time the rest of us catch up. If you agree, type Caitlin for MVP below, hit that like, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on alerts, then click the next video to keep it rolling.